Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the 4Q podcast. It's Sheena here, and I'm so happy that you're making the time to put yourself first and grow yourself and learn about yourself. Again, as I've said this in many of my other episodes, not everyone does that. So it's worth the reminder that you're doing something extraordinary, just taking 15 minutes out of your day, 20 minutes out of your day to listen to something that's personal development. That's actually quite big. So good on you for doing that. So today's episode, we're going to do an exercise that's going to help you figure out your core values. Now, if you want to get into what are core values, why are they important, all of those sorts of things, just use the search bar in your podcast provider, whether you're on Apple or Spotify or wherever you're at, and search for core values. We have another episode on that. But basically, core values are the rules and the standards that you set for yourself. So unlike a lot of other people who will say you should talk about your core values, or if you have a business, you should be sharing what your core values are, I actually disagree on that. And the reason that I disagree on that is that this is super personal. So, for example, integrity and honesty are core values. And if you publicly say honesty is a core value of mine, and then, of course, there's somebody from the bleachers, from your past, kind of saying, oh, how can she call herself honest when back in 5th grade she lied about this, Or, there might have been a time where you bent the truth in a workplace, or you didn't stand up for someone. People are going to hold you to that standard of honesty, which is really high. The thing about core values is that they're our own standards, and we know that ick feeling of when we've broken our own standards and we go, oh, I knew I shouldn't have said that or acted that way or behaved that way. I don't know what happened. So it's one thing to hold ourselves accountable and sort of beat ourselves up when maybe we acted in a way that we didn't want to, but that's part of being a human being. And so it's kind of nobody else's business to hold you accountable to be, quote unquote, a good person. You just are. You are so worthy. You are so lovable. And core values just really help you be more of the person you want to be. So it really isn't anybody else's business. So that's why I don't actually recommend putting it in your marketing or anything. Your business might have core values that are different from yours, but your personal core values, I recommend not putting them out there, even to your partner sometimes, because again, it's not their business to hold you accountable to who you want to be. It's your business. But you might want to share that if you're doing relationship counseling or something like that. Sometimes it's worth sharing each other's core values with each other to understand what really truly is important to yourself. So you know yourself and your partner and your relationship better than anyone else. So make sure you know whether that's something you want to share or not. Because again, your partner's going to know you better than most people. So again, they might call you out on if you say your core values, honesty or integrity. So the core values exercise. If you haven't already, we have a handout where you've got a core values card. So you can either print out the whole handout, cut out the cards and lay them out in front of you, because you can use them for so many different ways. You can use the cards, you pull one a day and ask yourself, can I act like this day? You can pull out one at the first of the month every month and say, hey, okay, the value of courage, that's my value of the month, and I'm going to try and act courageously this month, however it might be. There's so many different ways you can use this, and I find having the printed out cards can be really helpful for that. But at the start of that handout, in the first sort of 3 or 4 pages, we've got our core values exercise and a list of core values. I highly recommend printing this list, having it on you, or you can even just have it on your phone. However you want to do this, highlight it. What's really important is you're going to need to have a way to highlight some of the ones that really stand out to you. So this is a big exercise because you might have initially, the list is of 64. You might say 50 of these I relate to, because that's the first step. So whether you're driving or walking, the first part of this we really can think about. And when you get a chance, definitely download that sheet. I'll have the link in the show notes to where you can download that. So you have that core values list in front of you, but you don't necessarily need it. You can also Google core values lists, or go on Pinterest and look for core values lists. There's a bunch of them there, but the ones in our resource library, they're based off somebody called Russ Harris from Acceptance and Commitment Therapy. He's like a bit of a guru for things about core values as well. Ours is based on his list, and he wrote the book, The Happiness Trap. So, ours is based on legitimate people, okay? Because there's a lot of lists out there that aren't really accurate, or they put values in there that aren't really values. Because again, just to be clear, values are a way of living, behaving, acting. They are not things that we do. So sometimes people will say business is a core value, motherhood is a core value, families a core value, that kind of thing. Those are things that are important to us. Those are things that we might do, but they're not a specific kind of virtue or way of being. So, first part of this exercise, whether you are listening in a place where you can close your eyes and take some deep breaths, whether you're walking, whether you're driving, I just want you to start with just taking a deep breath in through the nose, deep as you can, and out through the mouth. Really making sure that exhale is longer than the inhale. And when you breathe out, try to sigh a little bit. It really puts you into a more of a relaxed state that we need for this exercise, best you can. And again, in through the nose, pausing at the top, out through the mouth. And we're going to do this again just one more time. In through the nose. Pausing at the top. And out through the mouth. And we're going to visualize your life 10 years from now. And in this life, you're in the house that you've always wanted to be in. You're in the location you've always wanted to be in. You have the work-life balance you've always wanted to have. You're doing your dream business or dream job. It may or may not be different to what you are doing right now, but just know that everything has gone perfectly for you, and a lot of what you have received is more incredible than what your logical mind can even imagine for yourself. Now, best you can, I just want you to imagine that you're watching the version of yourself go through her day. So you're Before she even wakes up, you're in the most beautiful bedroom. So you've stood in front of the most beautiful house. You're opening the door. You've let yourself in. She can't see you. You're invisible. And we're going to walk into that most beautiful bedroom, and she's there. And I just want you to take in the surroundings. Notice how rested she is. How beautiful this place is. You're noticing how organized and clear and content this life feels. You can feel that feeling from this moment. And you're going to watch her slowly get up from this rest. You can tell that she's super well rested and she's anticipating this day. She's looking forward to her morning routine, what her work or business day might look like, and how her evening's going to be. I just want you to imagine that you're watching her go through the motions, noticing who's around. Is she alone? Does she have a partner, husband, kids, no kids, family around, friends around? Noticing that as she goes through her day, notice who she interacts with. What are the interactions like? Know that she's gotten to a place where she can fully trust and rely on everyone that she's around. She has an amazing circle of people, both in work, in life, in relationships, in friendships around her. And every single day, she's living life. Not held back by this idea that it's a school night, she can't do anything, or it's a work day, she can't do anything. She does what she wants, when she wants, because she's created a life that's aligned and gives her freedom. Now, I just want you to imagine, again, watching her. She's done the morning routine. She's going about her day. It's heading into the afternoon, the evening. You're watching this life unfold. I just want you to notice, how does she hold herself? How does she conduct herself? What do you notice about the way that she interacts with people and people interact with her? What do you notice that's important to her? What behaviors does she have? What boundaries does she have? What are the kinds of things that she says yes to and no to without any guilt at all? Just want you to take this time, really notice this day and this moment, and you're going to leave this dream house and this dream location. You're going to walk out the front door, and if you're doing this where you can visualize, I just want you to return to the darkness behind your eyes. Or if you're walking or driving, just try to come back to the present moment. Notice the things around you. And I just want you to just take this moment to go, wow, that was incredible. I got to see the very best version of myself that 10 years from now, if everything went better than my logical mind could have ever imagined. I just want you to hold this for a moment. And then what we're going to do is ask ourselves again, what are the core values that this person has? And I really want you to keep that in mind as we do the core values exercise. Best you can, tap into this moment, tap into this day. If you need another future self-visualization to really get you there, I've got one on my YouTube channel. Just ignore the fact that my YouTube channel is very neglected, but you can check one out there. And of course, we go much more in detail if we work together. So go through these motions. Then when you get a chance, if you're walking or driving, you might not be able to. If you're at home, do this. Or if you want to, you can pull up the core values list on your phone if you feel capable. I just want you to hold that vision there. And the first step of this is to go through the list and highlight or, write down the numbers of every single value that you feel she relates to. Try not to overthink it. Just kind of go, yep, yes, no, yes, no. If it's a maybe, let it go. Only clear yeses for that. You may need to pause this podcast for the moment before we go on to the next step. But this first step is to do this and know that it's okay if it's a list of 64 like on ours. It's okay if you highlight the 64. That's okay. We're going to refine it in a moment. But if you can, pause here until you've done that. Now, the second step is to get this list down to your top 10. Now, I want you to think about, again, with that example of honesty and integrity, if you read the definition in the core values list, ask yourself which one of these is more aligned, because they are quite similar in meaning, honesty, integrity, but one is going to connect more with the person you want to be and that vision of who you are and want to become, rather than the other one. Or you can also create your own definition or meaning to that word. So there might be a definition for honesty or integrity, but you might have your own definition of what that actually means. So try not, if there's certain themes, try to nut it down and get it to your top 10. I'm going to give you some time to do this. Pause if you need to. And then we're going to go to step 3 once you've done your top 10. So if you haven't done your top 10 yet, please don't go ahead without doing that. Do your top 10 and then come back to this. Okay, so the next step is getting it down to your top 5. I know it's going to feel really hard for some of you, and for others it's going to be easier, but getting it down to your top 5. So same sort of process. If you're finding that there's themes or overlap, cut it down. And this is also give you insight into knowing these other things are still important to me. So you might have really important values there. But when push comes to shove, which ones are more important than the others? So it's not to say you can't hold those values in your heart and in the way you are. We're just getting to your core values. So just keeping that in mind, that it's not that these things are gone, but it's really getting down to what's the most important to who you are. So if you haven't got it down to your top 5 yet, don't go ahead just yet. Take a moment to pause if you need to, and then we'll talk about the next step. So, next step, again, don't hate the messenger, is we're getting it down to your top 3. This one people really struggle with. This sometimes takes the longest, is getting it from 5 to 3. But I really want you to think about these top 3. And remember that this can change. My core values change generally every 2 years because I'm changing and growing as a person. You might go through a rapid growth period where you do this exercise again in 3 months from now, 6 months from now, and they're completely different again. So just know that core values, they should and will change on your growth and who you are. So just if you're feeling very stuck about choosing this, just know that it can change and move at any time, and that's okay. So we've got to your top 3. And if And the reason we do top 3 and not top 5 and not top 10 is, if I had to say to you every single day, I want you to remember 3 words. 3 words that you can remember and hold yourself accountable to. 3 words that in any action or decision you make, you come back to those 3 words, which again are your 3 core values. That's so much easier than doing it. Hey, can you remember 10 words every single day? 5 words every single day. 3 is a manageable number that our brain can come back to. And that's what those core values are. So if one of your core values is freedom, and you've got to make a decision about work, about business, about, your relationship, or where you're going to live, or all of those things, or what you're planning the year ahead, whatever that might look like, does that align with your value of freedom? And if it doesn't, know that you're going to sit with the discomfort of being out of alignment of your core values. Because if our core value is freedom and we're acting in a way where we don't have any freedom whatsoever, and we're not prioritizing travel or, working less, or whatever that freedom looks like to you, we're going to feel out of alignment. So we need those things to kind of guide us in that direction of, how do I create a life that has more freedom? So that's how you figure out your core values. Now, if you want an extra gold star, AA plus, A double plus, what you can do next, which a lot of people forget to do, and it's something that when you work with me, we make sure that we do this as well, is asking yourself, what does this look like in practice? So again, just having a couple of sentences or a couple of dot points, or 2 or 3 sentences, dot points around, if freedom is my top core value, what does choosing freedom in everyday life actually look like? So we've all been parts of organizations where they say trust and integrity are part of our core values. And then it kind of is just this fluffy thing. They don't actually integrate that into everyday work. They don't say the way that we integrate trust is by responding to emails within 24 hours, whatever that might be. So in yourself, you've got to say, what does freedom look like in practice? It might be when making decisions, choosing things that feel that align with a more freedom-filled life. Simple. Could be simple as that. Or it could be making sure that I travel whenever I have an opportunity, or I'm not held back by limiting beliefs about spending money on experiences, or whatever that might be. It's your thing. But really, I will prioritize experiences over things. That might be just the simple kind of criteria for yourself around that core value. So again, making decisions, your top 3 points, and having this written down is incredible. And every time you make a decision, you go back. Does this align with freedom? Does this align with integrity? Does this align with love? And if it does, that's a great decision. Or if it aligns with 2 of the 3, how are you going to feel about that? Are you sacrificing one value so that the others can, you can work towards it in a different way? Can you see how these can be really important? So I hope you loved this episode. I can't wait to hear about what that was like for you. And come back to this whenever you need to just, when you're feeling lost, or, you don't know how to structure your day, or it's the start of the year or start of a new financial year or whatever it might be, and you just need some alignment. Doing the core values exercise along with visualizing your future self can be a really great way to just bring it home. So I hope you loved this episode. If you did, share it with someone who needs to hear it, or, do it with your team. Make a time to do it with your partner or your team or your friends, and do this exercise, as an activity. And tell me, how does it feel doing this exercise, and did it click for you? I'd love to hear from you. Again, thank you for taking this time for yourself, and I will see you in the next episode of the 4Q podcast. Bye for now.